right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all the honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha HaKodash, and double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, whom I learn from daily. Peace and salutations to you, hopefully, like Akim, that are pushing this word and truth and the sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to very, very few Aqua, few sisters who listen in as well. And we want to touch on this article put up by Business Insider, and it reads the 20 U.S. cities where people are the most stressed. And it stood out to me because, first and foremost, it aligns with the scriptures, all right, of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, and all these 20 most stressed cities in the U.S. are mainly filled with Jake, right? Filled with you Israelites, man, and that's not by coincidence, okay? Because ultimately, what we disobeyed the Heavenly Father. All right, He put us underneath these curses, man. Okay, 20 San Antonio, which I live. I live outside of San Antonio, and this San Antonio is predominantly a northern Kingdom city. All right, predominantly Hispanic. Okay, so-called Hispanic, which would be the northern tribes. Okay, Indianapolis. All right, got a lot of Jake out there. You got Northern Kingdom as well in Indianapolis. Cincinnati. All right, Cincinnati is predominantly Jake, and Esau. All right, but it's a lot of Jake in Cincinnati. Okay, Columbus, Georgia. A lot of Jake in Columbus, Georgia. Okay, Montgomery, Alabama. All right, predominantly Jake. Okay, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, predominantly Jake. All right, the Southern Kingdom. New Orleans, predominantly Jake, Southern Kingdom. All right, so you get, you seeing where it's going. Houston, predominantly Jake and Northern Kingdom. Okay, Toledo, Ohio, predominantly Jake. Okay, Birmingham, Alabama, 11. All right, predominantly Southern Kingdom down there in Birmingham. St. Louis, predominantly Southern Kingdom. Akron, Ohio, predominantly Southern Kingdom. Jackson, Mississippi. All right, so you see where, this is going. Philadelphia, predominantly Southern Kingdom. Okay, Jake. All right, the 20 U.S. cities where people are the most stressed. Okay, and this proves what this ain't. This America is not the rest of you Israelites, man. All right, it ain't your rest. It doesn't matter how much you think it is, how much you wanna get comfortable. You want to get cozy. All right, and be comfortable behind enemy lines, and be comfortable. Be comfortable in your captivity. All right, be comfortable in hell. Ultimately, it ain't gonna happen, man. All right, and this article is proving that. Hey, you Jakes, you stressed the hell out, man. All right, because what? The devil, he's coming down with that great wrath, Revelations 12 and 12. He's putting squeeze on, on this world, okay? And the first people that's going to feel the effects of it are you Israelites, man. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay? Deuteronomy 20:65, and the reason among these nations shalt thou find no ease, right? You're not gonna find any ease, man. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? You're never gonna find ease here, okay? Meaning what? You ain't gonna find rest, all right? True rest. Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. No rest, man. Constantly gonna be bombarded with stress, all right? Constantly being bombarded with mental plagues, right? Which goes into stress, all right? But the Lord Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart Okay, a trembling heart represents your mind. The heart represents your mind. So trembling means what? You gonna be afraid. All right, you gonna be stressed out. You know, you're gonna be you're gonna be worried all the damn time. All right, how this bill gonna get paid? How am I gonna put food on the table next week? All right, how's the rent? How's the mortgage gonna get paid? Car note, this note, that note, insurance, HOA fees, homeowners insurance. I mean, whatever, man. The list goes on. And a failing of eyes and a sorrow of mind. All right, stress the hell out, man. Okay, this is what you Jakes, you Israelites. This is what you get here in America. Okay, these cities predominantly make up the Israelites, man. All right, 20 U.S. cities where people are most stressed. Right, you stress the hell out. You Jakes, man. Okay, us included. Us in this truth, man. We in this flesh. You know, we get worried and stressed and things of that nature. But what we have the scriptures to fall back on. All right, we have Yahweh Shema Shai that we can go to, in prayer. All right, prayer and fasting and reading the scriptures, for our comfort. All right, and then what? It takes away, those worries. It takes away that stress. All right, but you Jakes who refuse to acknowledge how Bashima Shai, this is all you gonna get, man. All right, it's just stress, worry, anguish, and ultimately destruction. Lest you repent. Okay, stress triggers a fight or flight response, releasing hormones like adrenaline and cortisol that increases heart rate, tense muscles, and alter digestion. All right, this is why Jake, a lot of Jake is overweight. Your diet's off, and cortisol. It makes your body store fat. When your stress level is always high, your body stores fat. All right, predominantly in the midsection. The gut area. All right, the chest area is why a lot of Jake is heavy set around that area, because Jake is stressed out. While helpful in short bursts, long-term stress harms the heart, weakens the immune system, and causes mental exhaustion. Right, this is why Jake always sick. Like I said, the diet's off as well. But a lot of these sicknesses come from being stressed out, which those sicknesses, those are demons, man. Right, and that's just Yahweh Shema Shai further, you know, uh, um, plaguing you Israelites, man. All right. This is Ecclesiasticus 25:13, and it reads, "Give me any plague, but the plague of the heart, all right, the mind, all right, and constant worry, all right, constant, everything's in constant doubt." Which, matter of fact, that's in the Curtis. Yep, Deuteronomy 28:60. Deuteronomy 28:66, and it reads, "And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee." Right, literally and figuratively. Right, we were still being hung on trees, and everything is always in doubt. Okay, you always worried about something. Okay, you always stressed about something. All right, that goes into the curses, man. It is no coincidence that these top 20 U.S. cities are the most stressed, are predominantly Israelite communities. That's not a coincidence, man. And thou shalt fear day and night, stressed out, worried, and shall have none assurance of thy life. All right, just you don't know. You don't know if you're gonna have a pot to piss in next week. You don't know if you're gonna have, all right, a job to go to. Okay, when you wake up on Monday, you can get a, you know, you get that phone call from boss man. All right, the company shutting down. You know, we going out of business, and this is your last day. All right, you know that's the times that we in. All right, this devil is coming down with great wrath, man. All right, so you know this article is not. It ain't surprising. All right, let's read this. Continuing on, in any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. Just want mainly the top part. Okay, because when the Lord plays your mind, you know that constant worry, constant stress. You know that's a plague, man. That's very heavy on your body, as we just read. Okay, the effects of stress. You know, feeling anxious or sad. A lot of Jake. A lot of the Israelites are depressed, sleep problems. You can't sleep. All right, you gotta take some sort of you know something to put you to sleep. You gotta smoke some weed. You gotta have drinks. All right, just to go to sleep, man. That's not. Hey, that's not living, man. All right, getting sick more often. Okay, hey, stress, like they say in the world. Stress is a silent killer. All right, going off here. Isaiah 5:13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity. All right, who are the Lord's people? You Israelites, whether you believe it or not. You Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. Okay, we are yet this day in our captivity here in America because they have no knowledge. All right, what's the real knowledge? The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Okay, not this worldly knowledge, not what you think is knowledge. No, it's the scriptures. And their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Okay, just through, man. Okay, Isaiah 5:14. Therefore, hell have enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure. Okay, where this is hell, man. Right? Hell is not a place that you go and you see the red man with the pitchfork, and you know you just burning. You're there forever. Nah, man. All right, hell is a condition, and this is hell. Okay, it's what you Jakes gotta get through your head, man. All right, you are in hell. Okay, all these cities, man, where you Jakes reside at, you're in hell. All right, the average Jake is through struggling. All right, can't keep food on the table, stressed out. Okay, let's read on. Or let's get it. Gulfport, Mississippi, Jake. Shreveport, Louisiana, Jake. Memphis, Tennessee, Jake. Cleveland, Jake. Baltimore, Jake. And Detroit. All right, this is not a coincidence. Detroit is number one. All right, Detroit is Detroit is a literally is a crap hole, man. All right, Detroit topped the ranking as the most stressed city in the U.S. This is partly attributed to having the highest unemployment rate. This is higher, way higher than that. All right, and poverty rate 32.7%. That's crazy. So almost one out of two people are homeless among city. If I'm saying that correctly, among cities in the study as well as one of the highest violent crime rates. All right, yeah, Detroit is, Detroit has always been known for, you know, violence, man. Especially after all those major, auto makers shut down, and got up out of Detroit. That's when Detroit went to the shitter, man. Okay, but you get the point, man. We ain't gonna drag this lesson on long, all right? But with that, we'll go ahead and close the lesson out. Giving all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechaha, Korash. All right, double honors to the elders and the apostles. Shalom to our sincere Akim. Shalom.